Engines roar, lights flash, then impact. A split second between control and chaos. Screeching tires, shattering glass, hearts pounding. This is real. This is raw. Get ready and buckle up. Hitting a slick stretch of ice, the driver struggles to regain control. But the slide only worsens, ending in a violent crash with a car coming from the opposite direction. A Kamaz truck rolls forward uncontrollably, slamming into another parked Kamaz. The driver standing nearby barely escapes being hit. A small car attempts to overtake on a narrow stretch of road. In an instant, it collides head-on with an approaching truck. A Kamaz truck crosses the tracks just as a train approaches. In an instant, the massive locomotive slams into it, dragging the truck for several meters and leaving nothing but twisted wreckage behind. While turning the corner, the driver fails to notice a low barrier ahead. The car hits it head-on, the sudden impact breaking the calm of the street. A delivery truck loses control on a busy stretch of road. The impact with a heavy Kamaz sends the larger vehicle tipping onto its side in a cloud of dust. The small car loses grip on the icy surface, sliding sideways across the road. In an instant, it crashes into a truck turning onto the lane, the collision sudden and unavoidable. The camera captures a shocking sight, a bus engulfed in massive flames. Thick smoke billows upward as the fire consumes the vehicle within moments. A drunk driver sped down the road, crashing into everything in his path. After parking, he walked away as if nothing happened, but police soon caught him. The car skids on the icy road, the driver fighting to regain control. But as it spins around, the rear end slams straight into a passing truck, the struggle ending in a violent crash. The truck driver fails to notice a small car trying to change lanes. In a terrifying instant, the vehicle is trapped and crushed between two massive trucks. A sudden turn goes terribly wrong as an SUV mounts another car. In seconds, the smaller vehicle is crushed beneath its weight. The driver loses control as the car skids across the slick road. It spins into the opposite lane, colliding head-on with an approaching vehicle. The rocket launches with a roar, rising confidently into the sky. But within seconds, it tilts downward, plummeting nose first to the ground before exploding in a fiery blast. At a crowded intersection, two cars enter at the same moment. Neither slows down, and the inevitable collision follows with a sharp, echoing crash. The aircraft veers off its path, losing control as it descends. Seconds later, it slams into a wall, triggering a massive explosion that engulfs the scene in fire. A car started crashing into everything around it, and a nearby driver rushed over, only to discover, unbelievably, that a dog was behind the wheel trying to steal the car. On the roadside, a car burns fiercely, flames consuming its frame. The heat distorts the air as smoke rises into the cold sky, a haunting sight of destruction. The truck skids on the slippery road, its tires losing grip. Moments later, it crashes into the car ahead with a heavy, crushing impact. At a busy intersection, two vehicles cross paths. In an instant, A loud crash breaks the flow of traffic. The car driver tried to overtake a bus but misjudged the distance, crashing into a passing vehicle and causing a shocking, horrific accident. The small car skids across the icy road, spinning out of control. Within moments, it slides into the opposite lane and crashes into an oncoming vehicle. A Formula One driver speeds into the corner, pushing the limits of control. Suddenly, the car spins out, crashes, and bursts into flames as marshals race toward the scene. As the race begins, the car swerves unpredictably across the track. Moments later, white smoke pours from its engine before it crashes violently into the barrier. A car gets cut off in traffic and swerves sharply to avoid a collision. Instead, it slams into a garage door, crashing straight inside. A car backs out of a parking spot but drifts off course. It scrapes along the sidewalk fence, bending metal with each jolt. At a snowy intersection, a car turns slowly across the lane. Suddenly, another vehicle rushes in and hits it hard, the crash breaking the stillness of the scene. Unbelievable! The paved road gave way right under a moving car, a terrifying moment caught on camera. A bus crossing the railway tracks collided with a train, a terrifying moment that shows how a second's mistake can lead to disaster.
Meu Deus!
On a rural road, a buffalo charges after a fleeing man. Cornered, it rears up on two legs and slams against a nearby car in a burst of raw force. A drunk driver swerves wildly along the roadside. Again and again, he crashes into the barriers, turning the road into a scene of chaos. A car soared through the air above the road. Not Superman, not a meteor, but a real vehicle flying at full speed. A car cuts off a smaller vehicle, trying to push ahead. But karma strikes fast. It skids out of control, flips over, and tumbles off the road. The truck driver fails to notice that his vehicle has rolled under a fence. As he presses the gas, the truck strains against the metal until the rear wheels lift off the ground, trapped by the barrier behind. Losing control at high speed, the car veers off the road. In the next instant, it slams into a tree, the force of the crash leaving no room for error. The helicopter descends carefully toward the landing zone, but a sudden tilt turns precision into disaster as it crashes violently upon touching down. A trolley bus moves forward as two cars hesitate to clear the road. With no time to stop, it crashes into both, pushing them aside with its massive weight. A reckless driver cuts sharply in front of another car. The startled driver swerves, losing control, and slams violently into the roadside fence. Two planes approach each other in the open sky, their paths fatally aligned. In a split second, they collide head-on. One spirals out of control and crashes in a fiery descent. An old building stands in silence, its walls cracked and weary with time. Then it suddenly collapses, sending up a massive cloud of dust as terrified bystanders run for safety. A police car speeds through with its lights flashing. Suddenly, it skids on the slick road and crashes hard into the roadside fence. Roadside poles came crashing down onto the passing cars, but fortunately, no one was injured. A calm drive turns tragic when the driver loses control of the wheel. The car veers off the road and slams hard into a tree. A truck slammed into a bus at high speed, startling the man who was rushing toward it. He may have been late for work, but fate kept him outside. The car loses traction on the icy road as it approaches the intersection. Sliding out of control, it crashes hard into the side of another vehicle crossing the lane.
Yes.
Losing control, the small car veers onto the shoulder. In seconds, it crashes into a passing truck, the impact echoing across the road. At a crowded intersection, a van and a small car cross paths at the wrong moment. The impact is sudden, sending both vehicles spinning across the road. A passing car's dashcam captures an ordinary stretch of road. Then, out of nowhere, a fiery red explosion rises like a mushroom cloud, filling the sky with shock and awe. The plane descends unevenly, struggling to regain balance. Then, in a devastating moment, it crashes straight into the ground with overwhelming force. A car pulls into a parking lot, but suddenly surges forward. It crashes into a parked moped, sending nearby pedestrians scattering in shock.
I changed his mind. Oh no, 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 no! Oh my god, oh my god!
The helicopter begins to wobble mid-air, losing stability. Within seconds, it spirals downward and crashes hard into the ground. Two cars approach the intersection from opposite sides. In a split second of misjudgment, they collide, scattering debris across the road. Trying to outrun the police, the driver slams into another vehicle. Within seconds, he jumps out and flees on foot, leaving chaos behind. A massive truck barrels down the road, unable to slow in time. It plows into a small car ahead, the difference in size making the collision devastating. The driver loses control and drifts onto the roadside. In seconds, the car skids sideways and flips over with a deafening crash. At a busy intersection, a fire truck rushes through with sirens blaring, but a small car crosses its path and the two collide in a sudden, jarring crash. At the intersection, two cars try to cross at once. In a blink, their paths collide, sending shockwaves through the crossing. As a moose dashes across the icy road, the bus driver swerves to avoid it. The massive vehicle skids uncontrollably, sliding sideways over the frozen surface. At a busy intersection, a driver fails to brake in time and crashes into the car ahead. The impact flips the vehicle over, sending it rolling violently across the pavement. A car speeds toward an intersection as another begins to turn. With the road coated in ice, the driver has no chance to stop, and the collision is sudden and severe. A heavy truck loses traction on the icy road, its trailer swaying uncontrollably. Within seconds, it crosses the center line and smashes into another truck coming from the opposite side. Sparks flicker quietly along the ceiling wires. Moments later, the electrical system bursts into flames, spreading fire across the ceiling panels. car speeds through a puddle, drenching a passing cyclist in muddy water. But karma strikes quickly. Moments later, the driver loses control and skids off the road. At the intersection, a driver ran a red light and slammed into a turning car at full speed, then fled the scene right after the crash. Two heavy trucks collide with a thunderous impact. Moments later, one of them bursts into flames, sending thick smoke into the sky. The small car slips on the icy road, spinning out of control. In a split second, it crashes into an oncoming vehicle, a brief loss of grip turning into a serious collision. The car hits a deep pothole at full speed, one that acts like a ramp. In an instant, it launches into the air, flying several meters before crashing back down onto the road. The small car loses traction on the ice, sliding sideways with no control. Moments later, it glides off the road and comes to rest on the snowy shoulder. On a quiet village road, a driver loses control. The car veers off course and slams straight into a utility pole. As the truck rumbles down the road, a large icicle breaks free from its roof. In an instant, it crashes onto a passing car, a chilling reminder of hidden winter dangers. A calm day at the market unfolds as people browse through the stalls. Within seconds, a thick white cloud engulfs the area, swallowing everything and everyone in sight. Raging water presses against the concrete barrier, its force growing by the second. Then the wall gives way, unleashing a torrent that floods the streets and engulfs the city below. A driver records a truck moving slowly down the road. Its twisted frame and shattered panels reveal the aftermath of a serious crash. The car skids helplessly across the icy surface. It slams into the fence, splintering wood and metal on impact. As the car speeds down the road, a sudden blast rips through the front. The bumper flies off completely, scattering debris across the pavement. Losing control on a quiet stretch, the driver veers off course. The car slams into a pole, the impact echoing through the still air. A man pours gasoline on the road, chasing a dramatic display. But when the flames catch his own car, he's forced to leap out and run for his life as it bursts into fire. As one car cautiously enters the intersection, another speeds in from the right. The collision is sudden and brutal, the sound of impact echoing through the crossroads. On a frozen stretch of road, two cars race toward each other with little visibility. In an instant, they collide head-on, the brutal force of the crash echoing through the winter air. Crazy crashes, epic saves. Don't blink. Like and subscribe for more jaw-dropping moments.